actually Ed Grimley's idea. I'm just curious.
Whoever's idea it was, and I thought
I agree it was a good idea.
anybody's idea was a
I just wasn't sure if you had heard differently on that. But if you could address the, again, that if you choose to, if you don't feel it's too personal, if you could address whether or not your health concerns play into at this point.
Well,
I know that, yes.
I had hoped to work for the police department after retirement on a part-time basis. And I did have some medical issues, and I felt that I was not particularly safe to make a split-second decision, and it would put myself and other people in danger, and I didn't continue my certification. But I don't think we have the same kind of atmosphere as a select board. I hope we don't have to, I know they get heated, but I hope we don't have to make split-second decisions that would affect somebody's life. And I'm hoping, I've been fairly healthy for the last couple of years, and I hope it continues, and that I hope I get better, but I'm getting older, which has a tendency to make you worse.
Thank you, that explains a lot, I appreciate that.
Anybody else? Deb?
I noticed when I read the Canaan Town report, each department had a selectman designated to be just like a liaison between the department and the selectman's office. And I know that selectmen are extremely overpaid at $1 an hour or something, but wouldn't it be a good idea, and I'm wondering what the candidates think, to possibly at least go to the library meeting once a month or something, or every other month, just to check in to see what we're doing, so that we don't have to go and totally explain ourselves again to the select board, you know what I mean? Like they have a member that does the planning board, a member, it does go to the planning board, but the fire department, the, like each one, the road department, whatever, just once a month or something like that, go to one of their meetings, so they can just sort of see what they're doing and be the liaison between the town and the group. Just a suggestion.
Don't we do that?
No, I've never.
Can you see me at the library trustee meeting?
Once.
Not once a month, but once a year is pretty good.
I don't think it was once a year.
More than 2 or 3 times.
Like twice.
But go ahead.
Mayor?
Yes.
Actually, it's funny you asked that because Bonnie and I were talking too about how selectmen come on board and don't ever seem to want to check in with her and find out how things go. And that's absolutely on my agenda, is to go to every single department at least once. And just so I know what I'm overseeing, how they do things, what's going on. How often does the library trustees meet?
We have one monthly.
One monthly?
Yeah.
I would think quarterly checking in would, at the very least, would make sense. And I agree that we do need to be accountable to be paying attention to what's going on with everything in town.
I think you're correct. In the 80s, when I first took selectmen, which was a huge mistake, we used to have our representatives, but I don't think we did the library. I know we did the planning board and a couple of the other boards in town. And that would be something to address after the election. The selectmen should sit down and see who would like to be, report to the selectmen once a month or every couple of months. I think that's a great idea, because you're right. Nobody really, you guys are phenomenal, and I don't want to keep doing that, but it's amazing how much you folks do, and it should be brought up. The selectmen should know what's going on. I think that's a great idea.
Ryan, did you want to add anything to that?
I think it's a decent idea.
Any other questions?
I got one,
Sure.
and it's been brought up a couple of times here from us. We all work, we're all not available, and we don't have our nice little country store anymore. Where do we get our information now? Where's our town reports being put that us taxpayers can see it?
Library.
I know the library has
Post
it.
office, town office,
GraftonForum.com.
and you can go to our website.
Is it on the website, the whole thing?
I don't think we,
The town report last year's isn't even on.
no, I don't think we, but we have information. We don't have the town report there, but we do have information regarding to going down to town. And you're right, it's hard.
It
It's
is
a hard
hard,
thing,
because-
and we're in the middle of nowhere, and we don't have a town crier.
Well, and to be honest with you, Last week, I was at the post office, I go only on Saturday. I'm not gonna be able to get there this week, and I'm gonna be voting?
Did you get a town report yet?
No, I haven't gotten one, because I haven't been able to get any place in that.
You got it at the library.
I know, I didn't get to the library on Wednesday,
Why don't
and
we
you're
put
looking
them-
for me.
Why don't we put them at the dump?
We can
Yeah.
probably get some, we have them right there. I didn't bring any over with me, but.
That would've been a smart
They
idea.
look nice. They're great little booklet this
Oh,
year.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
Adam?
Yeah, I just got one more. This time I got to single out Brian, if I may. Brian, you seem to have mentioned several times here things along the lines of government stomps on rights, the idea that everything should default to the free market, that public services aren't conducive to a good society. I may be paraphrasing some of this. I apologize if I am. So I have kind of a two-part question. Number one, if you're so much against government representation in public service, why are you running for the position that you're running for? And I guess the second question is, if not for government of public representation, who is to protect the economically disadvantaged from the economically advantaged?
Churches, volunteers. I think a lot less people would be economically disadvantaged if taxes weren't so high, regulations weren't so great, and people weren't struggling and to get by, and then having to use a school as a babysitter, a school way over in West Canaan as a babysitter. And that's why families are starting to fall apart. That's why we're having a lot of problems. There's a lot of economic hardship. I believe, and I've been in the private sector for 20 years, I believe voluntary cooperation and work in a private sector is the key to prosperity. I believe government stomps and regulates everything into ruin.
So if I can just follow up, you don't believe that the private sector bears any responsibility for any of the types of problems you just described?
There hasn't been a private sector in this country since 1900. It's
You just
money,
said you work.
credit. I work in what exists of the private sector. Credit is created out of thin air. The federal government, which everyone wants to get grants from, is $18 trillion in debt. We have a $30 million school system, and the school board people, and one person who actually knows how to build a school is banned from the school building projects. And so we're talking a $30 million bond that was created out of thin air, because credit is created out of thin air in this country now. And some lucky guy that floated a $30 million bond is living off all of what's left of all our productivity. And granted, it's coming down the chain, so there's lots of people employed by the school. There's lots of people who want to spend your money for the library or whatever. But I'm sorry that if you don't understand my position, I've been nothing but cordial in government. No one's had a problem with me in government. I cut taxes, make things happen. That's what I do.
Thank you.
Okay, it's about time the meeting's going to wind down. Does anybody have any final questions or comments or candidates? Is there any candidate that would like to make a final statement? Well, if not, then I appreciate everybody coming here tonight on a Friday night, and I think we had a pretty informative meeting, and thank you very much.